like to open the meeting for the Zoning Board of Appeals for April 12th, 2021 for, first of all, to approve the minutes of the last meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals as presented. Did anybody have any questions or anything on the minutes?
No, everything looked good to me.
And if we have no questions, does someone make a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second? Take it, all in favor, raise your hand so that we can see and take a vote. So it looks like the vote is unanimous from what I could see from Mark, Charles, Frank, and Dan. And so the motion passes. Now I think we could just need to have someone read. I want to open up the public hearing. I just want to, if we can get the public present, and then so we can open up the public hearing on the petition for Norton Street. Is the public here at this point? Do we know?
They are, yep.
Okay, so
There's petitioners here.
what I'd like to do is have Bethany or somebody to read the publication into the record, and then I believe we've also received some email communications. If those would also be read into the record for the start of the meeting.
Sure, I'll read the legal notice. The East Long Meadow Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on April 12, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. via Zoom webinar. The management link, please click the link below to join the webinar. Case ZV 2021-1, a petition for variance under East Long Meadow Bylaw Table 3.2 Dimensional and Density Regulations, District B, for 5-foot plus or minus relief from a 40-foot setback for the construction of a porch at 60 Norton Street, Assessors Parcel ID 6-79-77 in the Residence B zoning district. Petitioner Anthony Gornall.
Gorno, it's okay. Sorry.
60 Norton Street, East Long Meadow, MA 01028. Information relating to this application is on file for public inspection at the Office of the Planning and Community Development, Town Hall, 60 Center Square. Please call 413-525-5400, 1700 to receive an electronic version of the file for the board, Brian Hill, clerk. And it was published on March 29th, 2021 and April 6th, 2021.
And were notices sent to everybody within 300 feet as well?
Correct.
Okay. So from a jurisdictional point, and I just want to announce that the whole reason is because of the COVID pandemic and the orders from the state, we can't have in-person meetings, so everything is being done by virtue of this Zoom hearing. The public is invited to participate and has notice of by virtue of the publication, and anybody within 300 feet was also given the notice of this hearing and the contact. So we're going to proceed, and the way we'll proceed is as follows. Mr. Gorno or anyone else who's going to be speaking on his behalf will be allowed to put their presentation forward. You need to meet the requirements that we need to find. There's 3 requirements. I think that you've been advised that we need to make a finding on, that we want evidence presented. If there are other people that are going to speak in favor, they're going to be allowed. Now, everybody who speaks should give their name and address when they speak, so we have a record of who has spoken. And then after you're done and rested, we'll ask any opponents, if there are any opponents, to present and give their name and address of anything that they have in opposition to this. Also, if once they're done, we'll give you an opportunity if they brought in any new things that you would not address in your presentation, Mr. Garno, or anybody that wishes to rebut anything. And unless you bring something new in, that'll be the end. We'll hopefully be able to close the public hearing and hopefully be able to have the board members act. So right now, I believe James is on the line, correct? Jim Channing? So I believe we have 5 members. If Mr. Hill joins, he's the regular. So, but you know, you'll need a vote of 4 of the 5 members in order to have the variance granted. So a majority vote is a denial in this case. So the other thing, if we would, Bethany, we did receive, I believe, some email communications and some letters. I'd like those to be read into the record.
Sure. Do you want me to do that now or
Yeah,
after?
if you would, to start the hearing.
Sure. This is an email correspondence dated April 8th, 2021, from Ryan and Aaron Corbett from 11 Susan Street. Good evening. I'm writing tonight in regards to case CV 2021-1, petition for variance on 60 Norton Street. I'm writing in favor of the petition for variance of 5 feet plus or minus relief to build a porch within the section 1 proposed of the bylaws, or to promote the health, safety, convenience, morals, and welfare of its inhabitants, the town of East Long Meadow, assure maintenance of health and wellness of or welfare or population. The purpose of the bylaws promote health and safety as its first 2 purposes. Mr. Renault has 3 children under the age of 6 with another child due in a month's time. Allowing a 5-foot porch would allow the safety of his family to exit the home during any type of weather. An extended covering will also help with the convenience for growing the family to keep all safe. Since homes in District B are 40 feet, have a 40-foot setback, adding a 5-foot porch would not adversely affect any safety or convenience for drivers heading to park in the rear entrance of the East Long Meadow High School. Further, Norton Street curves slightly north away from the home and therefore would not affect traffic sightlines. If anything, fences, trees, and shrubs that abut the street cause more of an inconvenience compared to what would be a 5-foot porch off the home. As a neighbor, this small addition would also assist in creating better value welfare for population for homes. As an abutter to the home, we have seen homes updated as a refreshed look to this neighborhood behind East Long Meadow High School. Mr. Gernalt is only adding to the welfare of the neighborhood with the addition of the porch. Again, please take into consideration to pass the variance, the porch will be built and will enhance the convenience, health, and safety of the family, as well as increasing value of land in the neighborhood.
Okay, and I believe we had another letter and an email communication as well.
Yep. This is from Tanner and Amanda Williams from 39 Marshall Street. To whom it may concern, my husband and I fully support the building of the front porch for our neighbor's house at 60 Norton Street. We fully agree that the building of the front porch will benefit their structure along with the aesthetic of the neighborhood as well. Thank you. And that's dated April 5th, 2021. And let's see.
I believe we received an email today.
Yes, yeah. I'm just pulling it up. This is from J. Chad Thomas at 12 Susan Street. Hello, I'm a neighbor of Anthony Gernalt. I would like to say that I have no problems with his request to construct a porch on his property at 60 Norton Street. I believe the addition of the porch will only add to the appeal of our neighborhood and would not hinder our area in any way. Dated April 12th, 2021.
I think that was the only communications. Did we receive any other communications?
No.
Okay. So I want to just put those down as exhibits 1, 2, and 3. And then we'll take, Mr. Borno's plans, et cetera, and then we'll, as he goes through, we'll make those the next exhibits 4, 5, 6, depending on which ones he gives us. Okay. If Mr. Borno is ready to go, I believe we're ready to go.
Great. My name is Anthony Gorno. I'm a resident at 60 Norton Street. Before I got started, I just wasn't sure if there was a way to share an overhead, like a projector of documents or pictures. I didn't know if that would help, or I can just.
You can
Well, that'd be
screen
helpful.
share.
Yeah,
Anthony, you can screen share.
Okay, I'll try to do that then. Let me see. Okay. Here you go. All right. So first, I wanted to say thank you to the board for hearing this request for front porch variance. I also wanted to say thank you to Rebecca and Bethany from the Planning and Community Development Department for answering all my questions and guiding me through this ZBA application process. They made it much easier in the end. It was foreign to me, so thank you. They made, also I worked with Mike Smith from Smith's Inc., who did all the surveying and plot plan drawings. He would have attended, but he is on vacation right now, so I hope that I can answer all of your questions as well as he could. And I know there's some specific circumstances that we have to meet. So I wrote something, I think you have it, and I apologize for the size of the font. My computer was acting up the day I printed them out, so I apologize for that. But I'll try to read it and add what I can to make you aware of where I'm coming from. To describe any circumstances, so first off, just a picture. Obviously, we have the existing house, and then Mike Smith was able to just put in the proposed front porch along the front side of the house. That's what we're looking to get, and we understand that it's going to require a variance to get that. And just the basic drawing that I put together, I'm no professional, but that's what I have. Hopefully, that's what we're allowed. So to describe any circumstances relating to soil conditions, shape, or topography, which especially affect the land or structure in question, but that doesn't generally affect the zoning district that we're located in. In terms of the soil and topography, this parcel has issues with drainage. We've had some pretty substantial basement water issues, which we attempted to remedy during construction of the second floor in 2015. Specifically, without the curb to divert the water, it naturally pools in the front yard, as well as from left to right down the hill from the high school. So it naturally pools at the base of the stairs. And this poor drainage has caused serious, like I said, serious flooding in the basement, along with safety issues on the front walkway. To address the issue, we were forced to demolish the front set of stairs in order to regrade the front foundation when we were doing the renovations in 2015. At that time, we did put in some window wells. However, even after installation, the window wells have settled since due to that poor drainage, I think. You can kind of see the expansion of the glue joints on the against the foundation. Additionally, so we are hoping basically that a covered front porch will help us provide safe, adequate access to the front door, while also helping project water away from the foundation. Additionally, when we were permitted to add the second floor to our home in 2015, the eaves were increased to a 16-foot height, but it soon became apparent that this lack of coverage was only going to add to the drainage issues at the front door. This was the point when we originally requested permission to construct this same front porch back then. The building inspector at the time, Dan Hellier, had given us the verbal okay to proceed. Therefore, we began modifications, including having Columbia Gas move the meter from the front from the front of the house around to the driveway side to make way for the structure. Also, as you can see from the pictures, and there's one here in which, we also installed a ledger board along the entire front face of the house, and as well as blocking in the basement to accommodate and support the front porch construction, which we were planning on doing at that time. However, due to financial budget issues, we were forced to put this part of the project on hold and instead build a temporary set of stairs. We intended to fix it there and then. Unfortunately, we ran out of money and we kept having kids, and life kind of caught up with us. And now I want to go about it the right way and make sure we do this properly. So had we known this setback issue would have prevented us the front porch construction, we would have requested an architectural redesign of the addition at that time. Secondly, to describe how a circumstance is unique to your land or structure would mean a substantial hardship to you if the town were to literally enforce the ordinance. Because our house was constructed almost exactly at the required 40-foot front yard setback line, we would be unable to construct any porch on the front of the house without intruding on the setback line. In this case, we feel that we could continue to see these unsafe conditions persist. Unfortunately, during the year prior to construction, my wife was seriously injured while pregnant after slipping on an ice puddle created by poor drainage outside our front door. Just a side note, she is pregnant again, my wife, with our fourth child. And if she breaks her ribs again while pregnant, I may not be allowed to come back through the front door. So I'm just looking for some help in that regard too. Additionally, during this pandemic, we often had grandparents caring for our children while my wife and I were working, and their safety was a concern during the winter months, especially being on the north side of the house. This is facing due north. The basement water issues we would be also likely to continue as well. We have a cinder block foundation, and we're trying to battle it as best we can. And we feel like unless granted the variance, this might just be another opportunity for water to come in. Describe how granting relief would not take away, from the purpose of the town's zoning ordinance, providing us the ability to construct the front porch as requested, would not take away from the purpose of the ordinance for front yard setback, because while the porch would extend into the front yard setback line or zone, the foundation of the house would not. Like roof overhangs and cantilevered second floors, this structure would not cause line of sight issues for traffic or any other hazards for abutters or residents. The porch would require column supports, but no poured concrete foundation. Also, an aside, my wife and I do feel that that front porch would give us a safer place to contain our children in the front yard due to the heavy traffic coming out of the high school playing fields. It's just kind of an ongoing battle, and we're just trying to look for another line of defense in a sense there too. Lastly, to describe why nobody else would be hurt in the town if granted your requested zoning relief. As I noted above, our intent is to add a safe covered access to the front door while pulling roof water further from the foundation for better surface drainage. We are confident that our porch will be an appealing addition to the neighborhood while not hurting any neighbors and or residents. And finally, I wanted to express our true love for this town and our family-filled neighborhood. There's kids everywhere, and we're ecstatic living here. This is going to be our forever home, and we are just trying to make it as safe and as sound as possible. And obviously, I've put this job off for far too long, and if there was anything you could do to help me get started, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else to speak in favor of? Speak now, forever hold your peace.
We do have two people in the audience. Dawn, if you could bring them in.
Are they in at this point?
He's coming in.
Okay.
I'm going to stop your sharing?
Oh,
For now?
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Oh, thank you.
Are those people now part of the meeting?
Rick Cookish is first.
Okay, and are they here to speak in favor or are they against?
I do not know.
Okay, if either of you are in favor, your time is to speak now.
Rick, you have to unmute down in the lower left.
Okay. Yes, can I speak?
Yeah, please give your name and address, please, Rick.
My name is Richard Cookish, Cookish. I live at 50 Norton Street, 50 Norton Street in East Long Meadow. I did write a very well-written email to Rebecca and Bethany. I found out later it came back undeliverable to one of them, so apparently neither of them got it. I am here to speak in favor of the proposed construction of the porch over at 60 Norton Street. I've been on the street here. I've owned my home here for 23 years. I'm 2 houses away from the house at 60 Norton Street. Again, I'm in favor of the proposed variance, and I think it would add to the neighborhood and not detract from the neighborhood. And I think it would add to all of our values. We take pride in our neighborhood here, and everybody here takes care of their homes, and I believe this would be a positive for that home at 60 Norton Street and also for the rest of the neighborhood.
Is there any other member of the public wishing to speak in favor of this petition?
There is Mr. Schmidt.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
All right. So my name is Dave Schmidt. I'm at 66 Norton Street.
Yep.
A direct neighbor to Anthony, and I'm here to speak in favor of the proposed variance. He has done a very good job updating his house, and I think this would make a very pleasant addition to the neighborhood. Everyone in the neighborhood works hard to keep their house up and updated, and it would add to all of our property values. It's not going to detract in any way. It is not encroaching on anyone's property. It is simply a little bit forward to the road, and there's plenty of room there, so it's not going to create any safety issues for anyone on the street. And I think it'll be a very positive addition to the neighborhood.
Thank you. So any other members of the public present?
Nope.
No, okay. So any questions from the board members of Mr. Garnell? Because I know I have a couple.
Go ahead, Mark.
Okay, first question, I guess you had talked about the drainage problem. I didn't say anything about any gutters on either of your roof. And usually one of the things you put in to get the water away from your house is gutters. Are there plans to be gutters on the porch to direct that water? From what I understand, this starts from the east and flows west in more of a southerly direction and gets strapped against your foundation.
Yeah, so we do have currently, like I said, the 16-foot high eaves. We do have the gutter on that.
Right.
I went for the oversized on those, but also we would do something similar along the front face, heading down from east to west and across the driveway.
Okay, to drain the water away from your foundation. So that I just wanted to make sure, because I didn't see anything on the plans that indicate any gutters on the porch.
And that was and I wish Mike was here, because I'm not exactly sure where the 5 feet would be, whether that's the end of the gutter, the end of the fascia.
Well, that's part of the eaves, so I'm not worried about the excess.
Okay.
It would be the roof line, so I don't think gutters are going to be the issue, but you know, because of the drainage problem, I do want to make sure that we're just not dumping the water that was coming from the upper roof onto a gutter onto this roof, which isn't going to be, you know, just dropping it back on the front. We're just going to be moving the problem 5 feet further, but it's still going to come back against your foundation unless you get it away from your foundation. to resolve your water problem. But the other question I had is, what's the current width of the stoop that goes to your front porch? Because that looked pretty wide. Is that 5 feet now?
It's actually exactly 5 feet. The
Okay, 'cause it looked to
platform,
be
and I
about
just
5 feet. I couldn't, when I went by the house, I wasn't sure the dimension. So that basically the porch dimension would be about the width of the upper level stoop that you currently have on the, and would the height be this roughly the same as that current stoop?
exactly the same. Like I said, I set the ledger board with flashing already. So the flashing's tucked under the siding, the first course. So we left out the first course and put in the ledger right at that level behind the 5-foot temporary set.
Okay. Those are my questions that I had. I just wanted to make sure. And
I have some questions, Mark.
yes.
What, and forgive me if I should know this, perhaps I should. What are the other, are there other nonconformities in this? This is a pre-existing nonconforming lot?
I don't believe the lot is pre-existing non-conforming. The current house sits literally on the 40-foot setback
Well,
line.
I understand. So here's my question. Does this dwelling comply with current zoning?
I believe it does.
Okay. And the petitioner is requesting a variance for a porch, which would come into the front setback
Correct.
and turn a conforming structure into a non-conforming structure. I don't believe you can even do that. As much as I would love to allow it, and I think the reasoning for this porch is sound, and I can't think of a reason in the world why he shouldn't be allowed to do it, but for being tripped by the law. So I just want to understand, my understanding is that when you have a conforming structure, you cannot turn it into a non-conforming structure.
Right. I mean, that's what he's seeking a variance
Well,
for.
let's just
Meet
cut
the
to it.
requirement.
Instead of talking about
Requirement.
construction and
Correct.
flashing, let's talk about the facts of the case here, so we don't waste his time or ours.
Right.
And get down to the real understanding of what's at stake here. Because I don't think any of us object to a porch. I know I don't. I'd love to see this guy have his porch. I just don't know how we're going to give it to him.
Can I speak I know, and the only thing that I understand there's different zones in town, and I just educated myself about this. I know we're at the farthest setback, 40 feet. It seems pretty excessive. I know there's the reasoning behind it. We don't want to be overcrowded, but there's other zones in the district that in the town that have the 25-foot setback. I didn't know if that would be a motivation to allow this.
Well, my understanding of the zoning law, and I'm relatively new to East Longmeadow. I've only lived here since 2016, but I deal with this in my business a lot. Find myself in your shoes a lot. I'm before a lot of boards asking for relief a lot. So I tend to be armed with information. Here's the issue I see that you have, and this is fairly common for people who are asking for variances as opposed to special permits or exemptions or those kinds of things where this board has discretion. Now, where I come from, the other town I used to live in, Longmeadow, they didn't have discretion on variances. Variance required the finding that Mark set out at the beginning of this meeting, and it's black and white. You got to meet it somehow. As to the zoning laws in the town, it's got nothing to do with this board. That's something that we all, as town people, vote on at town meetings. This board's role is really kind of like a judge in a courtroom. All we do is decide whether your evidence is sufficient for us to rule under the law. Okay, so we can't do anything but that. So I'm going to speak for my fellow board members, even though maybe I shouldn't. I would assume that most of us, or all of us, have no problem with your porch. Under any other circumstances, you got neighbors that like your porch. You got good reasons for wanting a porch. It enhances the value of your house. You've already done a lot of the pre-construction. Those are all great reasons. But the problem is the law of the town says you need a variance in order to do what you want to do. And if the town allows a homeowner to create a nonconformity with a conforming structure, then anybody in this town can come before this board and say, you got to let me do what I want to do. And it may not be as innocuous as a porch. So, and I'm all for doing whatever the town bylaws and the state statutes say we can do. If somebody on this board can show me that we can grant you this porch legally and it holds water, you got my vote.
Okay.
Well,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
I'm sorry. And honestly, that's why I'm here now, and I had gone through this, and I was even hesitant to bring up Mr. Hellier's name because I have so much respect for the man, and he had really been so good to me through the process at the beginning of the construction. So I just didn't know how else to explain how I wanted to go about things properly this time around. And I don't know if we can take that into consideration, that I'd already invested time and money and my own energy to do the things to prepare this structure for a porch. And now, like I said, I'm just trying to be on the up and up and do this the right way.
You were
So I
probably
know
on the
that,
you were probably on the up and up the first time.
yeah,
The other town I came from was famous for this sort of thing, where the building commissioner often granted and told people they could do things because he believed that they ought to be able to do those things, and he was a nice guy, and we all like nice guys. But he ended up getting the town into a bunch of lawsuits over that. So it's like anything else. We got laws, and if we want to change them so that folks like you can do things that seem perfectly reasonable, then we need to change them. But what we can't do, at least in my opinion, is have zoning boards decide that they're going to change the law, for this case, because it seems like the right thing to do, because it isn't the right thing to do. The right thing to do is to change the law and make it,
One final thing, and I know I understand it completely. That I know why the bylaws are there. I understand and I respect them, and I respect you guys. But originally, when I applied, I was going back and forth. I didn't know exactly who to talk to at first about the front porch variance this time around, and I initially had the ZBA, the zoning determination from Mr. Duquette came back, and I have a chain of emails that describe him checking the box not for a denial, but actually for an approval pending additional approval. So,
well, that probably means what he was thinking is you needed to come before the ZBA to get a variance.
okay,
Who knows what he was thinking? But I didn't know the gentleman, but most people in his role, know that when you have a conforming structure and somebody is proposing to do something to make it non-conforming, if that isn't something that the building commissioner can grant permission to do.
Okay, I just wanted to make that known. But yeah, I understand. Thank you.
That's just my opinion, by the way. I'm not speaking for this board.
I understand.
I think the biggest issue Dan has is your hardship. And I think that you're basically claiming your hardship is based on the fact that the current structure, which is one of the things we can find, is really at the setback line, and that the water is currently pooling along that foundation, and you're trying to get it away from the home, and by moving it further away from the home and putting gutters, that will help resolve the issue with regard to the safety. Now, the question is whether that hardship falls within the purview of the findings that we have to make in terms of what's there. One of the things I think that does help, the fact is that you currently have a stoop that is 5 feet wide, and you've got steps off of that stoop that currently exist. Your stoop is larger than most of the other stoops in the neighborhood currently, and you're not going any closer to the street than the stoop. But stoops are accepted under our zoning. A covered porch is not. It's a part of the structure and would need a variance. But we do have a sort of an enlarged stoop compared to most of the other stoops in the neighborhood that I saw. There's not a lot of porches in the neighborhood. I think I saw maybe 3 homes that had porches. None of them were, going to be like yours on the very front of the structure. Some of them were flush with the front, but at porches. But there aren't a lot of. Most of the homes there are Cape style houses that had front stoops that were built onto them, of various heights, most concrete or brick or whatever one I could see.
That's actually what we did. We took the second floor of the Cape, and we and like I said, I didn't think of all the. If I had known it was going to maybe be a problem at the front door with ice and snow and water, I probably would have drawn that up with this included and then been denied back then. I don't know, but I didn't foresee raising the eaves causing more of a problem, and it seems to have. So,
well, the other thing, the rub here, the thing that bothers me the most about this is that if you had a non-conforming dwelling, we could give you what you want. Yeah, that's some. If you were in most of the houses in this town that are old are pre-existing non-conforming, it wouldn't be a problem for us, because then we would just go through the exercise of is it more detrimental to the neighborhood than and that kind of thing. But because it's a variance, you're caught up in the language of the law because a variance is required, and mostly because you got a dwelling that is currently conforming. The law, it's just indefensible that any municipality would allow a conforming lot to become a non-conforming lot. At least, Mark, I would defer to you as an attorney. Maybe there are cases where for the public good that kind of thing was allowed, but I would never think to try to argue that in front of a land use board.
Yeah, there are cases, typically that has to do with, wetlands and things of that nature where you
Right.
couldn't possibly put a house on because the back of the land is basically wet or a pond or whatever. So you're forced with the topography of the land to be closer to the street than you would like to be, because you can't realistically build, a 5 foot wide or 10 foot wide home, and have a usable structure. So those are the typical cases where somebody is coming in. Here we have an issue where I think he's trying to claim I've got a pre-existing structure that was built right on the setback line, and I currently have a porch, stoop porch, not covered or anything of that nature, which is on the 5 feet, and I'm looking to expand it. It's not going to be any greater than what I had there, and then he's claiming that that's the hardship that's created a water problem for him and his family, and he's hoping to be able to put a porch on. So I think he meets the two requirements, the back two requirements, which is the public good, and it's not in derogation of the purposes and intent of the bylaw. The big issue here is whether this is a hardship. The structure creates the hardship that we need to make a finding on as to whether or not that structure and its existing and the drainage, the combination of the two creates the hardship in this particular case that would allow us to grant the variance. I think that's the issue here. I don't know, does anybody else see it differently?
Yeah, I think that's spot on, Mark. The question that I have for you, Anthony, is if you could talk a little bit about the water issues and sort of how it's happened, when it happened. Did it happen when you first bought the house? Was the addition the driver? Talk about the ice that results in that would help me.
right. So we tried. We did demolish the front set of stairs to try to raise the grade with the window wells, to get the water to run as much as we could away from the foundation. But it still seems to pool right at the base of the stairs, partly because of the lack of the curb, like I said. So you can see I don't have any grass growing on my front lawn because it burns out from the puddle of water, and then it forces its way onto that walkway. So I'm just trying to look away to get the water that comes towards the house. And it's, like I said, it used to pour through it's not as bad as it was. I'll be honest. It's the little bit of grade that we pitched it away is helping. but it does still seep through at the base of the foundation. It's just a really clay-like soil. So I'm just trying to push the water as far away as I can, and in the hopes of maybe someday being able to finish the basement. And obviously that's not dealing with this, but we're trying to expand a little bit because we're having 4 kids, and I can't finish that basement knowing that the water's gonna come in again.
Do you get water in the basement?
Yeah, we do. It's nowhere near as bad as it once was because I've raised the grade as much as I could, but it still comes in, like I said, at the base of the foundation.
So that may be part of your hardship there too, is you're getting water into the house and you're trying to regrade that. And you've already made attempts based on what I've heard so far, and putting the addition on and regrading it at the same time. So now where are you left? So what other options do you have?
I don't know. I mean, that's why I'm here. I'm just looking to try to push it as far away as I can. That's what and make it safe for like I said, it's a maintenance issue that I didn't salt the stairs like I should have, and the puddle at the bottom with the day my wife fell, but it's certainly a scary thing when I have my little kids walking out there even after I salt it, because no sun hits that side of the house all day.
Are you planning on having steps to the, I guess, is it the west side down to the driveway side? Or are the steps going to be right in front?
I think they would go straight out the front back to that pad, but I certainly would be open to like sending some stairs down that way if that would help. And yeah, that's something I'd be open to.
In other words, you're having would you say putting the stairs at the end of the house on the west side of the house, Charles? Is that what you're talking about?
No, I was just curious because I mean, if you're pushing the water out, are you just pushing the hazard out? If you were putting steps down towards the driveway away from the hazard, that I guess would speak to me that it really is a true slip and fall hazard. Anthony, when you've got your 4th child, I want to make sure that you get in the front door one way or the other.
I know. I appreciate it.
Fran, do you have any questions?
Yeah, is there any other non-conforming house in the area? I didn't see any.
I didn't see any.
Yeah, there's not, like you said, there wasn't many porches.
There were like 3 that I saw in that I drove around, like the 3 or 4 streets around there.
The other thing is, what is your rear setback, Anthony? Do you know?
I got
Could
that.
the house have been pushed back 10 feet or so from the?
I have the
You have the plot plan?
rear setback. Well, I think I can get that number. So the rear setback is supposed to be 35 feet, right?
Supposed to be 40, I think. I think it's the same as the front, 40 and 40. I don't know, how deep is your lot?
It's pretty deep because it does. I can show you the picture one more. Oh, I can't. Yeah. But yeah, it's an elongated lot because it follows one house.
180 feet.
Thank you. Yep, 180 feet. That's right there.
So the house could have very well been set back the other time and got the.
That's part of his problem. When it was built, they never set it back.
Right.
Yeah.
They took the minimum setback and they put it there. That's what happened, and that's part of what he's claiming is my problem. I've got a soil problem with the location of the house. When you put the 2 together, that creates a unique hardship that no one else seems to have in the neighborhood.
I think in that case, he does have an actual hardship that we could grant this for him, just from that standpoint.
I think he does. Those are couple.
I mean, that I think is the ultimate issue this board's going to have to decide.
Right.
Do we have any other questions before we?
Well, I have a suggestion because based on what I'm hearing tonight so far for evidence and rationale behind the drainage problem, I'd want to see more evidence that there's no other way to correct this drainage problem but to build a porch in the house, because I'm not convinced of that. And I don't say that because I doubt you or because I don't want to see you have your porch. the decision, I mean, if I'm going to be involved on a board, then its decisions have got to be sound, at least if I'm going to participate. So in order for me to vote in favor of what Mark is proposing, there would need to be an engineering report that said, you know, that this site is unique, that the water accumulating in this area is a unique feature of this site, and the only practical way to deal with it is to put a porch. And if somebody wants to put an engineering stamp on that, that would be something I would look to see. Some advice I might give you, I don't know how, if you want to do the research or whether it'll even help you, but I do remember a case like this coming up once in Long Meadow on Bernie Road, where I believe it was a conforming dwelling. Had to be, because it was a 70s built house, you know, it wasn't pre-63. And there was a erosion issue in the front yard causing the failure of a retaining wall. And that petitioner, like you, young fella, wife and kids, freaked out over what was going on in his front yard. We granted that, you know, but he had some substance to his evidence, not just, hey, you know, I got drainage problems, you know, and I need to put a porch up. We need, you know, you could probably go to Long Meadow and just get a copy of that decision and just look at the, you know, because that would be something I would support. I just want whatever I'm involved in to be defensible later on. I don't want anybody to ever say, well, you know, this decision was a little weak over here on evidence, but you let it slide. We just need to be, in my view, we need to make sure we're prepared to do whatever we do for Anthony, we got to be prepared to do for everybody else in this town. So that's just one man's opinion.
Yeah, no, that's good, Dan. I think you're right in some of those cases. That's why I was asking these questions, whether we could go about it in a different way to give them a hardship, you know?
Well, given that you need a majority, right, Mark? He needs everybody voting tonight?
He needs 4 of the 5. There's 5 of us, so he would need 4 of the 5 to get the
So my
variance.
suggestion, Anthony, is that you ask for a continuance, so you don't have to pay to file again, right? You don't have to pay to file again?
No.
And go get a local civil engineering type of guy to come look at this drainage and you know, give us I'd like to see the kind of report that makes me feel as though this is you deserve a variance. Because a variance is kind of, the way Massachusetts sets up variances, it's not like other states where a variance is kind of loose. In Massachusetts, it's deliberately hard to get. Because if it isn't, then people can screw around with zoning, you know, and so that's why it's done that way.
Yeah, it's only supposed to be granted where there's a hardship, and it has to be a certain type of hardship. Here, we have an arguable hardship. We have a home that obviously is preventing the drainage from, you know, further draining, so it goes up against the house. I don't know what can be done to address it, and whether the porch will resolve it. It does seem to have some merit, but I'm not an engineer. And I think there is a situation, whether that will solve your problem, I don't know, Mr. Gorno. I'd be very concerned that, you know, you go and spend the money, even if we granted this thing, and you put this porch on, and you still end up with a water problem. You know,
unless, of course, you just want a porch, which is fine with me, too. If you can get the porch that you want by making a legitimate argument for a variance, I'll grant it to you anyway. Doesn't matter why you want the porch. You just need to give us evidence that supports the granting of a porch under the zoning and the state law.
Right. So, I mean, I think the biggest issue is the hardship, and whether the board members feel that the combination of the existing house actually sitting on the setback line and the drainage problem that results from the house sitting there in the basement it will be corrected by the porch, and whether the porch will resolve that, and that creates enough of a hardship under the zoning bylaw to grant the variance. And that really comes down to question, and I don't know how the board members are going to come down on that issue.
Anthony, how did you come up with the regrading and stuff, and where did that come out of?
Well, I did it myself, to be honest. That was a friend of mine provided me with the, what do you call them? The window wells. He showed me how to, he has not a construction company, a landscaping company. And he gives me 6 to go around the outside of the house. I set them as best I could, glued them to the wall. Maybe that's on me, but it looks like they settled. I mean, and I'm just trying to find, and if I was to be able to get the front porch, perhaps allow to relift them, set them properly, and regrade the land just one final time to try to push the water away as much as I can.
No, I just wondered if there was something already gone through as far as drainage, because, you know, like Mark said too, I'm not an engineer, so I don't know how other options about draining, putting some kind of a curtain or something in the property, but can you do that? Can you dig there? Is there, you know, what lines are running through there from, you know, storm drains and water and such, and sewer? So I don't even know if that's an option either.
Yeah, and then you're getting into where the hardship might be, right? I mean, to address it in a different way, I mean, who knows what the cost is, right? But I think that's Dan's point, is what's the number of what the hardship would be.
Yeah, and just this Fran again, just the, you know, the way you have this porch designed right now, you're not doing anything with the water. The water's just going to run under the porch now against your existing foundation and still do the same thing it's doing now. So all you're doing is pushing the roof water out, but it's going to actually run back right under the porch to the existing foundation.
Yeah, I'm just concerned that, you know, if you're looking to get rid of your drainage problem, I don't know that the porch will or will not solve that issue. And you know, as I said, I think it's if there's a hardship, it would be the combination of the existing structure and the current soil, you know, configuration, topography of the land that causes the pooling. You put the two together, that creates a hardship. I just don't know, as Dan says, that I've got enough information, engineering wise, to tell me that this is going to correct that situation. That's all. And if it does, and that's the solution, then I would feel much more comfortable in granting a hardship, and finding a hardship. But I don't know. I just don't know enough.
I'm a little concerned.
I mean, I don't want to cost you an arm and a
little
leg.
bit more, having to put more money into a process that I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get anything out of at this point. It's not the bottom line, but I'm afraid that if I go forward and get civil engineer and get him,
I don't know. Is Mr. Smith a civil engineer as well?
No, Smith is a surveyor. Anthony, if I'm assuming you got a genuine drainage problem in the front of your house, or with a, you know, Mark and I both know a little bit about this from our condo management days, but, you know, leaking basements can be fixed with drain tiles. They can be fixed with sump pumps. Drainage coming in over sill plates can be fixed with all kinds of different methods. To conclude that your drainage problem can only be fixed by a porch on the advice of a couple of landscapers is not sound reasoning. I think if you've got a problem like this, you should bring in a builder, you know, maybe first, before you even bring in an architect or an engineer. Bring in a builder, because they frankly oftentimes know more, and show him what the problem is and let him see if he's got another way to resolve it. Because again, the idea of granting a variance to a conforming lot so it can be non-conforming to put up a porch, from, you know, I'm having a hard time understanding how you get there, which is why I'm suggesting if you can get there, please do, and I'll vote for you. But I don't have a lot of confidence that you're going to get there.
Okay. I mean, I have this temporary set of stairs. I obviously need to put something finished there. I mean, I want
what can he do, Mark? What can he do without our relief? If the stoop is not regarded as a structure, is that correct? So he can,
Stoop is accepted under our zoning. Stairs and stoops are.
so he could
accepted
put a
under
bigger
zoning.
set of stairs and stoop out there, right?
Correct.
Could it?
But the water's still gonna come down along the front of the
Can you
house.
have an awning over it? Does that's
An
non-permanent?
awning would be probably acceptable.
What about a portico?
Uh,
Is that push?
It wouldn't be permanent construction. No, but you know,
Okay.
you know what, Anthony, I think you need to think through a little bit more different ways of dealing with this besides asking us to give you something that pretty hard to give, I think.
I understand.
So I guess, I don't know what you want to do, Ms. Corno. Do you want to continue the meeting? Do you want to close it? Have us do discussion and vote tonight? Or do you want to talk to a builder or something to see if you can come up with something that may or may not? I can't tell you, even if you bring it, that's going to resolve and get you the variance. I don't know what he's going to say, but, or do you want to take your chances tonight and,
No, I think I'll take my chances tonight, to be honest. I really do. I kind of want to be able to move forward. It's been a process. It's been educational, and it's certainly, opened my eyes on some things. Maybe I need to, but I still would love to get the variance if you guys could find a way to do that. If you can't, I understand.
so, so you don't want to continue, and so do we have a motion, any other statements or any other evidence? Otherwise, do a motion to close the public hearing?
I guess quickly, Anthony, if you don't mind, how are you? I noticed on your rendering of the porch that you said it was your first choice. Can you just talk about other options or other choices you had before you went with this one?
Yeah. So the portico was another thing I thought of, but that was just addressing the safety of snow and ice on the patio or the deck
Sure.
itself. So that would only address the safety of the wife and kids out the door, not the pushing of the water away from the foundation. That's the two things that I'm trying to achieve, is shedding the water away as much as I can, and then also creating a safe space right outside the door. Because I have no coverage. I have the eaves are 16 foot. I got no coverage there at all.
All right, I have no other question. Thank you.
Any other questions, or otherwise we don't, and no other evidence? Do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
I motion to close.
Anybody second?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Raise your hand, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Close the public hearing. Okay, do we have any motion to either approve a variance or deny the variance? If we're going to approve the variance, if there's going to be a motion, they're going to have to state, the hardships and the that it doesn't derogate, and why it doesn't derogate from the intent and the public good. Do we have a motion? Do we have a motion to deny?
I don't want to be the guy to make the motion to deny since I did all the talking on this, but and I hope Anthony understands that this is not, has nothing to do with your porch. It has only to do with doing what the law requires us to do.
I understand.
Thank you.
Do we have
So I make a
second?
motion to deny on the basis of an inadequate finding of hardship.
And do we have a second on that motion?
I second.
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. We'll start with you, Brian.
Aye.
You're in favor of the motion, okay?
Yep.
Daniel?
Yeah.
Aye. Frank?
No,
No? You're in favor of the motion?
Not in
No,
not in
not in
favor.
favor of the motion, okay. Charles?
I'm against the motion. I think that in spite of the fact that the evidence was they're probably not that strong as it could be. There was evidence presented that was credible with respect to the soil conditions and the hardship that would be encountered. And I think that the other two elements of the test were met. So I'm against Stan's motion.
Okay, and I will also vote against it, the motion. However, Anthony, what you have is a 3-2 vote in favor. That is a denial because you needed a 4-1 vote, so that that effectively is a denial of your variance. You have a right to appeal. It will be filed with the town clerk's office on within a week to 10 days, and then you have a 20-day appeal period to appeal the denial to a court of law, who can then decide whether or not we had insufficient evidence to vote and we acted arbitrarily and capriciously. That's up to a court to decide, but that, you know, that's not a cheap option at all, but you do have a right to file an appeal.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay,
Sorry, Anthony. I would have loved to have voted in favor of what you wanted to do. I always try to wherever possible.
No problem. I understand. You're doing your jobs. Thank you.
okay. So now the close, we have any other matters for discussion?
I think you just have the minutes.
I think we approved the minutes at the beginning.
Okay, great.
So with no other, do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Oh, dear.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's approved and the meeting's adjourned. Okay. We'll hopefully see you next time.
Okay, guys.
Thanks,
Thanks.
guys.
Take care.
Okay.